Hi and welcome. This is Hyperpoly Books, and we try to do some teaching videos, especially for those of you who are brand new to the writing world and wanting to follow God's calling to write children's books. Hyperpoly Books is all about publishing and helping writers self publish their own children's books or books for families with children. We have a whole process. We help you from day one of first stepping into that calling of writing and getting into critique groups, then into professional critiques and editing and all the things to help you finally get to the point where we publish the book, help you find the way you want to publish the book or query the book with a traditional publisher and walk you through all of that. We have some things that are free that we offer and some things we charge for. But if you'd like more information about that, you can go to my website, terriehellard-brown.com, and go to the Hyperpoly tab and fill out the form. You can set up an appointment to meet and discuss where you are in your writing journey and how we can help. So feel free to do that. Today, I wanted to come to you. Usually, we have a guest share, but I wanted to come and talk about critique groups. This is something I didn't know about before 2016, actually, is when I first found out about this thing called critique groups and what an amazing blessing they can be. So, I want to encourage you, if you are brand new to writing or you've been writing a while, get into a critique group. Now, we have a critique group in Hyperpoly that is geared toward children's book writers. We still have a little bit of room in our group, and we're going to probably have to start a second group soon. We're small. We're starting small and growing little by little as far as some of the things that we offer. But Write to Ignite, which is WRITE, the number 2, and then Ignite, they have critique groups also. There's other groups that have critique groups as well, but I wanted to share with you the group that I feel has a lot of integrity and Christian worldview, and that's important. So that's what I wanted to recommend. If you don't care if it's a Christian group or not, then there's other groups you can go through that have critique groups. 12 by 12 has it, and the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, their initials, I always get them mixed up. I have to think of the full name to get the initials right. I believe they also offer critique groups, but check into those if you're not in a critique group. Our critique group is free and you can participate. So I want to talk a little bit today about when to send your manuscript and when not to send your manuscript in a critique group and why critique groups are so important. Let's jump into that. Critique groups are so vitally important because you have your manuscript that you've written, you've poured your lifeblood into it, you've edited it 15 times, and you're done. You don't know what else to do to make it better. And maybe it's not quite working. You just don't know what to do. You've done your best. Then you take it to a critique group, and it is the most amazing thing. As other people get their eyes on your work, first of all, it's very intimidating, and you're going to be very nervous about it the first time because you just are assuming they're going to hate it and say mean things. If you're in a good critique group, they're not going to do that, but we all fear that at first. When you get into the critique group and they see it, they can fix your problems. I have had the most wonderful critique partners who are like, this doesn't really work, but what if you did this? And you're just like, your mind is blown and you're like, yes, that's the key. That's what I've needed. You're able to write it and get it to where it needs to be. And it's such a blessing. And it takes so much weight off your mind when you're able to get other people's eyes on it and help you strategize and figure out what has been driving you crazy and why it hasn't quite been working. Or you didn't see that there was a gap or a hole in your plot line, and they see it and they help you to correct that. And you're like, wow, I didn't even notice that. And you're able to fix it. It's just amazing. They do not change your writing. They give you ideas. And you may have two partners who disagree with each other, and that's fine too, because then you can choose which way you want to go. The thing I love about our critique group is that we're all children's book writers. So we know the drill, we know what's expected, we know what we need to know. When you're in a group that's a mixture of different genre writers, you can run into some problems where a person in the group may not know about your genre enough to give a good critique. So, if you can, I highly recommend getting in a group of people who write the same genre as you. I think it's more beneficial most of the time. I found some interesting takeaways from a group where we all wrote different things because they look at it with a different set of eyes and a different set of expectations. But it can also be frustrating because they're telling you to change things that you just can't do because it doesn't fit in the parameters of children's writing. So that's something to think about as well. If you're interested in finding out more about our critique group or helping to start another critique group in Hyperpoly, please reach out to me and I would love to talk to you about it. Especially if you'd like to start a critique group for parenting books, because we also help sponsor writers who are writing books for families with children. So, parenting books, discipleship books, devotional books for families, those kinds of things. Those also, you can go through Hyperpoly for that as well. If you would like to help start a critique group for that kind of a group of writers, we definitely would be interested in talking with you. And we will train you to know how to lead a critique group. It's not that difficult and it's actually a lot of fun. I've done it for, gosh, about almost 10 years now. Pretty close. I think it's 8 or 9 years. Sometimes I've led two groups at the same time and I've loved it. I've really enjoyed it. So we will train you. We have guidelines that we follow in our critique groups that we hold to really strongly because there's a reason for each of those rules and each of those guidelines. So it's pretty straightforward. We do our critique group on Zoom. You can use another platform if you would choose, but we do them online. If you want to get an in-person group together, we can help you and guide you in that as well. It's the same guidelines and we'd love to help you do that as well. Regional critique groups can be awesome because you get together and get to actually talk to people. I mean, face to face in real life, but we've done ours online so far. Okay, so that's the best part of it is you get another set of eyes or sets of eyes on your work and they can see things that you're blind to or they can help solve the problem you just can't quite figure out. And they offer so many great ideas. And sometimes you get some really terrible ideas, and that's okay too, because it still gets your brain thinking and definitely helps you think through your story and how you might want to change it and make it better. So that's the best part about a critique group. The other part that is so wonderful is as we're writers, sometimes that can be a really lonely, solitary activity when we're writing. And this is an opportunity to get together with like minded people who have the same dreams, the same goals, or similar dreams and goals as you do, and hopefully the same worldview that you do. And you get to share together and have that fellowship, pray together, support each other, rejoice with each other when you've got a speaking engagement at a writer's retreat or you got signed with a publisher. We rejoice together for each other and we lift each other up for whatever's going on in our families. And it's a real support group and such a blessing. It really is. And so I highly recommend that. I highly recommend that every writer get into a critique group as early as possible in your writing journey. Now, here is what you need to understand about submitting your manuscripts. We always make sure our manuscript is the best we can make it. We want it to be finished. So we don't submit a manuscript that is not finished and polished. Now, the exception to that is if you're writing a novel. Sometimes you'll submit just part because you can only submit a certain number of words each time. We do up to 2,000 words submitted each time. So you submit up to 2,000 words for critique. If you're writing a novel, that's only a small portion. Maybe it's one chapter. Usually one chapter is nice, even if it's fewer than 2,000 words. And of course, if we're writing picture books, it's much fewer than 2,000 words. We submit the manuscript that has been finished and polished. So at least the section we are submitting, if it's a novel, is finished and polished, and we know where we're going with the story. So you want to make sure that it is your best, that you are turning in the best that you can do. We do not send to the group something that has not been polished, that has not been finished, and has not been self-edited. We want to edit it ourselves the best we can. That is so important, because if you give a manuscript to your critique group that isn't polished, isn't your best, there's so many things that we need to talk about fixing that it really does become a negative experience. And you don't want that, and we don't want that. For one thing, it takes a ton of time, and it's abusing the critique group. Your critique group is not your editor. You're not paying them to take the time to look at your manuscript. This is something we do to support each other and help each other for free. So you want to not take advantage of that in a bad way. You want to be a diligent writer and bring your best. The other thing is, you do not want to submit your manuscript if it is still your baby. Okay, all of our manuscripts are our babies. And if we haven't gotten to the point that we're ready for it to be shredded and ripped apart and made better, don't submit it, because it is painful when we do that. It's so hard to accept the criticisms and the corrections and the ideas without getting defensive, because you start feeling like they're criticizing my baby. I'm a terrible writer, and it just hurts your heart. But if you've edited it and you've done your best with your manuscript, and you've worked with it so much you're like almost sick of it, then you're ready to give it to your team and let them help you make it the best it can be. And that's the attitude we need to have. We're ready for this to take flight. We're ready for it to become more than we could have made it on our own. And let our team help us see where we've had blind spots. And we are so ready for that. Because I can guarantee you, if you're doing traditional publishing and you send it to an editor, they are going to shred it. They're going to rip it apart, because that they've got to make it the best it can be so it can sell well. Any editor that is worth their fee, or whatever you want to say, is going to do that, because that's their job. Their job is to find any loopholes, any holes in the plot line, any grammar problems, anything that is illogical, anything like that. They're supposed to find any problems that we haven't caught and make it better. When we go to a critique group, ready for them to take apart our story and really analyze it and make it better, it helps us prepare for the really harsh editing process. We need to edit with no fear. You write, pour your heart out, but you want to edit your own work mercilessly and just make sure you can rip it apart and make it the best it can be. Then you want your critique group to help you make it better, and then your editor to make it the best that it can be. So that's the process. The third time you don't send a manuscript. So the first time you don't send it is if it's just not polished, it's not ready, you're not finished, you're still working on it. Don't send it in yet. Second, don't send it in if it's still your baby. Make sure you're ready for the critiquing process. And three, when it's done. Unless you just want to say, hey, I finished editing it, I'm sending it to the editor, or we're getting ready to publish it, or whatever, and say, thank you for your help, and send a copy to them, but not for critique. Do not send it to the group for critique when you're done. And that's a hard thing to know when you're done. I've had some stories I've edited like 50 times. And it comes to a point where you can edit forever. You can choose another word that means the same thing, and you can edit forever and change it and change it and change it and never be done. There comes a point where you're like, it's done. This is it. It's done. It's the best it's going to be. These changes are lateral. They're not elevating it. So we don't need to make more changes because they're just lateral. And so then it's done. We do not send it to the critique group one more time for them to look it over just to make sure, because they're going to find something, because they feel like they need to find something to tell you. What if you did this, or what if you did that? Again, most likely they're going to be lateral suggestions, lateral changes that are not going to elevate your manuscript. So those are the 3 times you do not want to send in a manuscript when you have a critique group or critique partner. Okay, and then just a couple other things to remember when we're talking about critique partners or critique groups or even a professional critique. These are not editing. They will not correct your grammar. They may tell you you need to pay attention to commas. You have a lot of comma mistakes, but they're not going to go through and correct your commas. That's one of the differences between editing and critiquing. Critiquing is just helping one another out and talking about the story as a whole, the work as a whole, and not the little editing things like grammar or even punctuation or paragraphs or whatever. Sometimes we will, in children's literature, get to be a little more nitpicky, especially if we're dealing with rhyme and meter. We get into a little bit which would be considered editing, because we're trying to help the writer to correct the meter and rhyme pattern in their work. And that can be tedious. So we don't want to overdo that to where it becomes editing. So you need to understand a critique group is not going to edit your book. It's not going to edit your story. It's just to help you make it better and get it to where it needs to be. The other thing to remember about critique groups, you need to be there. If you commit to a critique partnership or a critique group, be a person of integrity. Show up, be there. Even if you don't submit a manuscript, you have the responsibility to critique the other members' manuscripts and to be present at the meeting and share your critique. This is so important. So many people think as long as they don't submit something, they don't have to attend. And that is so selfish. The thing with a critique group, the reason it works is because we're all serving each other. We're not there for just selfish reasons. Yes, we have our goals and our hopes and our manuscripts we want input on. So there is that part of it. But if we don't submit something, we still have the responsibility to be a part of the group and to critique the other manuscripts that were submitted and to be at the meeting and share our critiques with those writers. Then we also share our critiques with the entire group in an email after the meeting so that everyone can see what we critiqued. It helps us learn. We grow. I learned more from critiquing other people's manuscripts than I ever learned just from going to classes and even the critiques on my own writing. I learned so much from critiquing other people's work. It is a benefit to everyone involved when we have integrity and we take our role in the group seriously and are responsible for that. You make a critique group great when everybody is that way. When someone is not attentive and not doing their part, they don't get their critiques done, they don't show up to the meetings, you don't have a strong critique group and it usually falls apart. So take that really as a responsibility and a commitment. If you cannot commit to the group, then don't join it. Wait till later on when you can do that. It really does harm a group when we have people who are not responsible and aren't taking part. So that's something that I just wanted to say that I think is so vital to really creating an encouraging and helpful critique group where you really become a team working together, and you're just always kind of a part of each other's lives after that because you've helped each other grow in this calling that God has given us. And it's exciting and it's fun. So if you have any questions about critique groups or you'd like to see our guidelines that we have for our critique groups, please just send me a comment or an email. You can contact me at contact@terriehellard-brown.com or just email me from my website, terriehellard-brown.com. And we will get back to you. We would love to talk to you. If you have any questions, please post those on either YouTube or on my website so that we can answer those questions and get back to you, because we love answering questions and helping writers to grow in this wonderful calling that God has given us to write books that bless the next generation. So we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to drop a line. Watch for our next video. We will be posting videos now and then, about once a quarter, for teaching different topics that we all need to learn as new writers. And yeah, I hope it will bless you and will answer questions and help you to be growing in your writing and going further along in the journey that you have as a writer. God bless you, and thank you for joining us today. We hope this blessed you.